Good evening and welcome to 2014's GPVWC Super League Championship. We're here at the Shanghai International Circuit here for the Chinese Grand Prix, and we've just entered into the qualifying session. Pull up your chairs, grab your snackage and your drinky poos, because I think this is going to be a tight one at the top. My name's Simon Smith, and as ever I'm never alone. On birthday boy cameraman extraordinaire is Simon Lewis, and also with me, once again, is Mr. Plug-in himself, Lewis McGlade. How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to be a plug-in. But this track is definitely not one of my favourites. It's a track that I really don't like driving. However, when you look at what happened in Formula Challenge throughout that qualifying session, it was very, very close in that qualifying session when you exclude the person who took pole position by a long, long way. But below that, it was very close throughout the field. And same as we saw in Super Cup yesterday, it was a nice close field. And so, looking at this, I think we might have the same kind of thing, this close qualifying session throughout the field. However, at the moment, David Fidek, the winner from last time, obviously with 3 rounds we've done, the 3 different winners we've had, David Fidek is leading the field by just over a second.
It is indeed for CSG. We've had Tommy Hagen, Nick Rowland, Tom Vandervoort, Kenny Lybeer and Lee Morris as they're just popping in their first banker times now in this 15 minutes qualifying session. What do you think it is then that's provided such good close racing and close times throughout? Because it's actually quite a long circuit and there's quite a variety of corners.
Yeah, it's a really odd one. It's, when you look at like a track map of it, it's not one that I'd look at and go, yeah, this is going to be a close qualifying session. You'd kind of think the whole field's going to be separated by quite a margin, but it's just the separation when you've got all these, corners, the long corners, the short corners, where especially the long ones where you want a higher downforce car, and then you've got the really long back straight where you're going to want high gears, low downforce. So it all balances out a little bit, especially towards the end of the lap. So. I couldn't put my finger on it in Formula Challenge how the session was so close from Scott Beresford down. I couldn't work it out. However, it just works to be close. This whole circuit. And speaking of being close, Giuseppe Ranieri moves up into second position, less than a tenth off of David Fidek's time.
Absolutely. Tommy Kovinen has just binned it exactly where I binned it in qualifying, although he went off into a completely different barrier entirely. I chose to go to the inside wall. He's gone to the outside, but he's limping back that green stripes racing cars. Late joiners to the qualifying session is Davidus Missilis and Menno Klomp, so they've got less time to do their laps, just 10 minutes. Currently then the order is David Fidek ahead of Giuseppe Ranieri. Both of those are second clear of Tommy Hagen, who is third, who was fifth in the practice session just before coming into this, but neither CSG set a time, nor did Ranieri. So Nick Rowland is fourth, needing a big recovery of form after a disappointing opening rounds of the season compared to his teammate. Tom Vandervoort equally in the same boat, but looking better in the Nijo in 5. Now down to 6th because Ruud Heesterbeek, his teammate, has just beaten him by 6/10 of a second and popped himself nicely into 3rd. Rounding out the top 10 is Kenny Lybeer for Vodball, Lee Morris for Kerno, who was fastest in practice, Toby Davis for Nordzone, and Morten Vernonson in the second Rodball, continuing to show his increase in pace over the season.
Yeah, I believe the Red Archer is back to being the second fastest car. It was fastest, or most upgraded even, as opposed to fastest. It's kind of a debatable one there because of drag and everything like that. But the Red Archer back to that spot. It was the most developed car, I believe, back in Malaysia when Ruud Heesterbeek took that win. However, it's still the Midnight that's right at the top of that. We can get on that between the racing sessions at the moment. Ruud Heesterbeek did plop himself pretty much half a second either way in that 3rd spot. So he's got to. Oh, there we go. Lewis Redshaw bumps himself up into pole position by 0.2 of a second.
Interesting stuff, laying down the gauntlets between the teammates, with Ranieri keeping them very much honest. Who is that popping up? That was Missilis up into 8th position. Gogaboldi is just crossing the line as well. Will he improve in Hawkeye? No, he won't. So it's an outlap. Jordan Weeks and Augustin Canapino spun on their first hot laps as well, so they're right towards the back of the grid as that Canapino looks like he's going to go onto a hot lap as well. And yes, difficult track to make sure that you get everything right, although clearly when you do, everyone's close together. Toby Davis just rejoining the server after him having his own issues in the session as well, and you won't want a disconnection when it comes to the race.
No, of course not. You know, it's a bit heartbreaking to have done so much practice to then disconnect. Sort of like when you look at Formula One, someone has an engine failure or something like that. It's just absolutely destroys the day when you've put in so much effort to go fast, and then that happens. See David Filek heads into the pit lane, obviously going to go get himself some fresh boots for the last 7 minutes of the session, see if he can take pole position back from his teammate. It will be his second in a row after taking it 2 weeks ago in Bahrain.
Definitely, it's going to be a real humdinger to see how they get on up the front. 5 seconds covering the entire field. This is by far the most rushed out one. There's a problem with Sven de Vries and Boyd Bryce.
Yeah, they had a bit of contact at the hairpin. Yeah, I saw that as Redshaw comes into the pit lane. I was looking at Redshaw when they had a crash back there.
It's funny because in the practice sessions I noticed that Boyd Bryson came to blows with Lee Morris, so after he came out of the pits and sat on the racing line down into turn 1 as Nick Rowland improves his time and moves up into 5th position. So it's a 3-5 for the Midnight Motorsports. But Bryson was clearly in the way and in the wrong as poor old Lee Morris smashed into the back of him as Harley Hamnet spins it down into turn 1 as well for Hawkeye after just getting into 18th place. Surprisingly, Peter Kaza currently down in 19th position and coming into the pits for what will be a quick change of tyres and back out again. Very much out of position in that torrent. And I can't see his teammate Jim Paresis out there at the moment, so hopefully he'll nip in towards the end. Must just be stuck in that Greek traffic on the way home.
Indeed. Well, we all have our own little real-life problems. Giuseppe Ranieri puts it on pole position. I was having a look at the end of that lap. Looked like it was going to be pretty strong. He's not on pole position by very much, though.
No.
It's less than 200ths of a second, so...
By an anorexic waste, that is.
Indeed. But yes, Giuseppe Ranieri on pole position. Still not won a race yet this season, as the Super Cup champion from last season. So, will this be his evening? Will we have 4 different winners in a row?
Going for the F1 2012
yeah.
look, I think. And it's interesting because a lot of people had kind of said Ranieri will be the person who will be at the top of the food chain. And you can't say that he's not certainly given CSG a run for the money. CSG easily come in as the most organised lot at the beginning, and Ranieri has had to drag that Midnight into contention. And it'll be interesting as development wars continue and peter themselves out into a more stagnant in the mid-season once everyone's done all of their upgrades, as to exactly where the land lies between the 2 CSGs, Ranieri, and I wouldn't put Heasterbeek out of the equation yet for Nijo either, because he's pinging around in there and abouts, and in the warm-up sessions we'll run through the standings just to make sure that everyone is well accounted for. Disappointment though, right the way down the back of the field for the Woods team. Danny Asbury currently 22nd, Roy Schroten 25th, and 6 tenths between them. Asbury showing the way at the moment, but I think Woods would have liked to have been a little bit higher up in the top 20.
Well, I mean, it's just the way the cars work this season when you've got the R&D. After the first few rounds, it's all, where people have spent their money and to who's taken the lead. It will even itself out probably later towards the end of the season. But at this stage, you've got a lot of teams that have either just kind of like fallen off R&D wise. I know that the Kerno is quite a way behind R&D wise. I think they've like when it comes to research points, they've got half the research points in comparison to the Midnight. So Lee Morris putting it in 10th position at the moment is pretty good. But I don't know. It's just the way the whole season starts off. It'll balance out later on. You'll see some teams move their way further towards the front, but it's just the way the research and development works this season. As Lewis Ridshaw, I believe, starts a lap.
Does indeed. Menno Klont is no slouch in the second Kerno, and he's down in 18th. Don't think that's been his seat before this season. So welcome to Formula Challenge.
Challenge.
Don't
wrong series.
Menno sobs inside. They will sob going around the curbs on turns 1 and 2 the way we did there. ST once again, Calvin Hermsey not going out in qualifying yet again, desperately trying to save money. That team clearly needs to employ someone to deal with their budgets. And it's interesting the way we watch these cars going around on their hot laps, the way how the research points has really determined a lot of stuff. And there's some people that have got test drivers that aren't even going to test in the official test session. And this is such a backbone to the entire way that the Super League runs. That would be one of the first things that I'd desperately try and address. Surely.
Indeed. It's a difficult environment, and a very, very different environment when you compare it to any other place in Simracing. Really is the Super League. It's just a very odd environment in comparison to everyone else. It's not one that some people are going to be used to, some people are going to be comfortable with, but it's the environment we have. And it's I don't know. I like the unique environment that we have here in the Super League, because it's just something completely different than no other league can really give.
Canapino has just edged out Toby Davis in the Battle of the Nord Zones for 11th and 12th positions. That was a couple of minutes ago, but they're side by side on the standings. The field still separated by 5 seconds. Coven and the last of those two Sete timers. Jordan Weeks has just improved and overtaken Tumala for 23rd and 24th. Track temperature continuing to rise. Petakaza down in 20th in that torrent. To improve a few temps to get himself up a few positions. And with 1 minute to go, Redshaw has gone into the pits and ended his session. David Fidek is still out there, but he's locked up at the end of Sector 2, and that won't do him any favours. And Ranieri in the pits as well. Fidek's really the only one left to do anything for it as Vernonton pops into 12th.
Yeah, he's pulled off Ara, so Fidek's just getting the tyres warmed up. I assume he's going to start a lap for the basically pretty much the final lap of the session, I would assume, by the time he crosses that line. And I believe it was quite a late lap that put him on pole position back in Bahrain.
Yeah. And
then he kind of ran away with that win, did a very, very outstanding drive 2 weeks ago to go and take that victory. So keep an eye on him for the last part of this session, see if he can move his way up into that P1 slot.
I hope that... Tommy Covenan's dived into the pits. There was someone in front of him that I thought that he doesn't really want them there. Let's take a look at Fidek going round turn 1 and 2. So many different lines into that one. I've seen people take it very, very tight. Some people run out wide and then cut back through again. Some people try and go for it down the middle. But no particular right or wrong, I don't think.
No. It's just the way that section works with turn 1. It's actually a 4-turn complex. People think it's generally 2, but you've got 1, which is the first right-hander, and then you've got the second apex, which is technically 2, and then you've got 3, which is the right-hander, and 4. And that whole 1 and 2 section is a very, very complicated one to do. I never really found a correct line, as it were. It kind of changed depending on how I was feeling on entry to that turn. It was just so inconsistent when we were driving it in Formula Challenge, but I never found the correct line. I know there is one there, I just haven't found it yet.
I think it depends on whether you're going into whether you're in a battle or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite easily steam one up the inside and hope and pray that there's enough room by the time you get to the second part of it, I suppose, as Fidek comes down at the end of the straight. There was someone who did improve their time, but that won't improve for Fidek.
Yeah.
Terrible on the exit, too much throttle. Into the pits he doth come, and I think that is the end of the qualifying session. Giuseppe Ranieri then takes pole position for Midnight Motorsports ahead of Lewis Redshaw by 14 thousandths of a second. David Fidek just 39 thousandths of a second behind in third. That sets us up for a Titanic scrapperoo, I think. Then it's Ruud Heesterbeek in fourth position. Nick Rowland in 5 for Midnight. I think he'd be pleased with that one. Then the two Red Archers, David Miselis and Tommy Hagen, 6th and 7th, ahead of Tom Vandervoort for Nijo in 8th. He'll be pleased with that, I think. Kenny Lyby in 9 for Vodball. Lee Morris rounds out the top 10 for Kerno, with Canapino, Vernonson and Davis rounding out the top half of the grid. Phoenix have got Boyd Bryson into 14th, 2 seconds off the pole position time, ahead of Mello Clont. Goga Baldi down in 16th. I don't think he'll be pleased with that for Hawkeye. Then there's Kieran Ryan, Mindergaus Columbus in 18th, top of the targets. Harley Hamnet 19th for Hawkeye. Casa down in 20th for Torrent, and that's a torrid time for Torrent. David David Asprey, I don't know who he is, but
David,
Danny Asprey
wow.
is in 21st position for Woods, again out qualifying his teammates, so well done to Danny, ahead of Sven de Vries in the only ST to set a time, Jordan Weeks, then Mikael Tumala wins out for Green Stripes again, ahead of Schroten and Kovanen, with Hermsey not completing a time, and Jim Paresis nowhere to be seen, so I wonder if there'll be a quick shimmy around to see if they can get in a last minute standby.
Yeah, I mean, just to be honest, a moment with Gergo Valdi in that 16th position, I think that actually deserves an incredible shout out when you consider where that car is in relation to like research points. I think it's the second or third worst car on the grid. It's so far behind. Is that Hawkeye? If I remember correctly. So for him to put it into that position it's quite an impressive drive so far.
He's managed to flatter to deceive in the earlier races, though, where he's been hanging around in the top 10.
Yeah,
so I'm just thinking in comparison to that, it's slipped off a bit. But I suppose as the gap grows, there's only so much you can do.
Indeed, it builds. If you're not doing anything with the car, it just builds, and then you're not getting a decent result. You're not getting what you need in the car, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. This whole snowball effect that just as the season progresses, it's quite a long season, and so it's a long time for things just to get so much worse before the end of it. But he's done a good job to put it up in 16th position as Gergo.
Okay. Text friend. I do like a snowball. Good fun. Oh yeah. I get cold granny actually at Christmas with my Advocar and lemonade.
I'm far too grumpy for Christmas, unfortunately.
Oh, you don't strike me as being grumpy at all.
No, nah. Well, when Christmas comes around,
No.
when Christmas comes around again, you'll find out.
Okay, I want to see sad faces with you decked out in Santa gear on Christmas Day, just with a straight smile, like no smile.
Yeah. Okay.
No emotion.
All right. I'll work on that.
Boo. Actually, it's quite funny because where I've worked, it's my new job, someone appears to have joined who just looks like Santa Claus. And now I've got it in my head, I can't actually say hello to him because I just want to say hi Santa. So I've decided to just avoid him as Adam Rouse joins the server to stand in for Torrent Motorsports. So poor old Adam into the car, and that is going to be if there was a leap into the unknown, that is the one. We've not had that since Roland had to dive in. So, Mr. Cameraman Extraordinaire, on his birthday, happy birthday. He
happy
spends
birthday.
hours and hours trapped behind the broadcasts. He deserves much preso, but he's been busy scouting out Adam Rouse and has managed to convince the guy to get into the car, the man who has many a good forum avatar. And
yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting in the consideration that we've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds of warm-up left before a 56-lap race. So
quick one-lap practice.
That is quickly. That is about as thrown into the deep end as you could possibly have had.
Poor guy.
That's going to be very interesting to see how that works out.
I hope he remembers where the brake pedal is. For anyone, I'm sure as you find, he's a very competent guy. Championship stand-ins, just whilst we've got 2 minutes before we get going. Then we'll do Lewis Redshaw is on top with 65 points, 4 clear of David Fiduk. Then it's Ranieri 20 behind in third on 45. Ruud Heasterbeek's fourth ahead of Lee Morris on 29. Paresis won't be scoring this evening with his 26 points. Then a three-way tie on 15 points between Columbus, Canapino and Tom Vandervoort, with Misalis on 12 points. 25 drivers have scored so far, with Tommy Hagan just a single point on the first round of the season in Australia for that Red Archer team. In the Constructors, it's CSG way clear with 126 from Midnight Motorsports on 56, being chased down by Nijo in third on 51. Torrent Motorsports on 43, they'll do well to capitalise much on that. Kerno, though, could be well snapping at their heels with 31 points, especially with Menno in there. So he will potentially help that team out a lot. Red Archer looking to capitalise too on what has been a great car that has not quite helped them along the way because they've had only Misalis scoring each time round. Bodball, Nordzone, Hawkeye and Target round out your top 10 with Phoenix and Woods on the scoreboards. ST still yet to get off the ground. Any
Yeah,
drivers
obviously.
or faults?
Yeah, there was
race.
something I wanted to point out, which is quite an interesting thing for anyone watching. Is that CSG? Okay, as we say, brand new team to the series have done two 1-2s this season in Australia and Bahrain, and that car has never finished off the podium. And that, okay, now I know we've only done 3 rounds, but that is very impressive. Those two with Redshaw and Vidic leading the championship as a 1-2 at the moment have never ever finished off the podium this season. So that deserves one hell of a shout out.
Absolutely, and I wonder how long that will. How long will that stand for? Will we be able to say the same in an hour and 40 time?
Indeed. Obviously only an hour and 40 until we can actually find out if that continues on in 2 weeks' time when we go back to the European season at Barcelona. But yeah, no, it's looking like they're in a pretty decent position at the moment. Obviously, with the way qualifying went.
This turn 1 provides a few opportunities, so we shall see. Calvin Hermsey, KFC all.
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
So everyone off the bloody grid. 56 laps of high-octane action. Just for those statties that are out there, the only thing that's allowed is auto-clutch. Damage is set at 75%, don't you know? And it's looking nice and dry, and there doesn't seem to be much of a threat of rain on the horizon.
Indeed, obviously, with the rain was being hinted at earlier on, but whether we'll actually get it or not, it's seeming somewhat unlikely. 56 laps ahead of us, though. What's going to be the story at the end of it? I don't know.
Well, we'll get ourselves a... wondered what that RD message was all about. I think it's because people keep chatting before they finish the race. Get the field round on the formation lap, talk you back through the grid just to make sure that you're happy with everyone. Giuseppe Ranieri then in pole position for midnight ahead of the 2 CSGs. Lewis Redshaw this time ahead of David Fidek by a measly 15 thousandths of a second. 4th is Ruud Heesterbeek, top Nijo, ahead of Nick Rowland, his best of the season, 5th for Midnight Motorsports. Then 6th for Davidus Misalis for Red Archer, ahead of his teammate Tommy Hagen in 7th. Tom van der Voort, 8th position, his second best of the season so far in the second of the Nijos. Kenny Leibeer is 9th for Vodbull, again in the top 10 for the second time in a row. Lee Morris rounds out the top 10 for Kerno, ahead of Augustin Canapino, who wins out the Nord Zone battle for the first time this year, ahead of Morten Vernonsen in 12th in the second Vodbull. And Toby Davis rounds out the top half of the grid for Nord Zone in 13th.
Yep, and then after that in 14th position you've got Boyd Bryson, who had a few problems in practice session with a couple of drivers, and then obviously with Sven de Vries in the qualifying session. He is in 14th position. Menno Klon just behind for Kerno, which is actually, that deserves a pretty good shout out because he was in the car only, I think it was only about an hour before the qualifying session, and to have qualified in that position is a very good shout, especially considering that car's position. So good job, Menno. Then it's followed by Gogo Bowdy, who we've already stated is doing a very impressive job in that car. Then it's Kieran Ryan for Phoenix, the teammate of Boyd Bryson. Columbus for Target. Harley Hamnet, they're not that far behind his teammate this time. Peter Kasa follows Danny Asbury, Sven de Vries, then Jordan Weeks, Mikael Chumala, Roy Schroten, the other Woods. He ain't qualified by his teammate for, I think, the second time this season. There's Tommy Koivunen, Calvin Hamza, and Adam Rouse, the last minute, hey, let's jump in the car driver for the field, running at your field in 28th position.
Very interesting to see how that goes. Green stripes, actually, I forgot to mention on the constructor standings, haven't got off the scoreboard either. So yeah, I knew I was missing a team somewhere.
Also, just a quick point about the 2 final place teams. Calvin Holmes are going for the alternative strategy, I think, for the 4th time this season, for 4 rounds. Adam Rouse also starting on the Prime Compound tyre. Every single other person, the 26 cars ahead of them, are all on the options.
Good spot, good spot. That'll be interesting to see how that goes on. And I suppose with Adam, you'll just be wanting to kind of see how the race unfolds ahead of him whilst he gets up to speed, and if that keeps him out of the way from everyone else, and that lets him get on with his own little race as they finally peer onto the grid. Some people Very aggressive on the grid boxes. Look at David Fidek pointing right out like he wants to have a go. Same with Heasterbeek. Here come the lights in. The Chinese Grand Prix for GPVWC Super League is about to get going now. Off and away. And look at the way how the field fans out, and Ranieri is being absolutely swarmed, not by
big crash in the background.
but goes straight for the inside line, and Heasterbeek leads from Redshaw, and then it's Fidek. Ranieri down to 4th. Misson up to 5th as well. And there's a few people in trouble towards the back, and that is Mindergaus Columbus with no front wing or rear wing. Danny Asbury's off the track, as is Gergo Baldi and Tommy Covenant and Kieran Ryan. So 5 cars involved in that one as they sort themselves out down.
Tom
and
van der
Redshaw's
Voort,
going for it.
Oh,
He's round! He's round!
Oh.
Redshaw is round and stuck in the middle
leader.
of the track. Ruud Heasterbeek now leads from Tom van der Voort for a 1-2. Then Ranieri is going past Fidek. Fidek runs out to the outside, and he's going to lose out to Missilus, is he? No, side by side again. They go around Roland down to 6th like he's completely bished out, and that is a Fred Archer round. It's Tommy Hagen losing out, and if he cuts that corner too much, he'll get a stop go. He'll need to get that one removed maybe as he rejoins in 14th position. But an absolutely crazy start as it's Heasterbeek, Van der Voort, Ranieri, Fidek, Missilus, Roland, Leibier, Morris, Davis, and Canapino, your top 10.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be heading onto the back straight with a Nijo 1-2, but nevertheless, that's what we have with Ruud Heasterbeek and Tom van der Voort. So they had Ruud Heasterbeek had a really good start. Giuseppe Ranieri completely bogged down. So that was not good for Giuseppe Ranieri. However, long race, he's having a little look.
He's having more than half a look down at the inside. Don't do what you've done in Bahrain. He just about gets out of it, but that slowed him down, and Fidek takes the initiative and dives through into 3rd position. Van der Voort clinging onto 2nd. He provided a very nice buffer there, but I think Fidek's going to have half a go. We've already lost then Mindergaus Columbus and Jordan
Redshaw
Weeks,
pits.
both targets out of the race, as Fidek has a little mini look at Van der Voort down into turn 1, but nothing of it. So both targets out and several cars limping back to the pits.
Yeah, Redshaw has entered the pit lane, championship leader. Really gone to go repair some damage, which is unfortunate. Didn't lose a wing or anything, but just clearly needed something for that car, which is very unfortunate for him.
It's Heasterbeek from Van der Voort, then Fidek, Ranieri, Missilus, then a gap back to Roland, Leibier, Morris, Davis, Canapino, Vernisson's 11. Casa going from 21st to 12th. Not a bad start for him. Timala 13. Hagen rejoined in 14th ahead of Svente Vries. ST in the points at the moment for 15th. They would love that. And Timala for green stripes too. Then it's Klont, Schroten, Rouse up to 18th from 28th.
Yeah, he's done a good job to get that plus 10 so far.
Definitely. With Hermsey, Asbury still going. Then the pitters, which was Redshaw, Baldy, Ryan, Bryson, Covenant, and Harley Hamlet is just exiting the pits now. Most of them staying on option tyres as well. So, in fact, all of them are. As it looks like Van der Voort's about to have a go at Heasterbeek down the straight. That is the extreme straight line speed, and this could well cause an upset for Nizo. They're having a little bit of a spat between each other at the moment, as it is, from what I hear. And Van der Voort takes the lead, pushes Heasterbeek out wide. Fidek can't find anything through there, but maybe well set up or placed to have a go down to turn 1 if Heasterbeek doesn't try and get back at his teammate.
Yeah, obviously, Van der Voort does kind of like his straight line speed, so that is going to be very advantageous down the. That's pretty good shout from cameraman. That is true. It could be Tom van der Voort's first lap led in Super League, which is a very nice thing, of course. Oh, he's had a bit of a slide. He called it. Jeez.
Did indeed. That was clever there from Heasterbeek, but he's managed to keep it just on the inside at the end of Sector 1. Ranieri's trying to have a little peekaboo, but that is one of those corners where you can push the other car out wide. Indeed, he does for Fidek, who gets a little bit loose on the exit of the curb, and Ranieri won't go round the outside through that chicane, but he quite fancies it. Careful, 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 as they sort themselves out. Missilus and Leibier waiting for drama behind, as Nick Rowland's been overtaken by Lee Morris for 7th and 8th positions just off your screens as well.
Yeah, it should be about tyre conservation at the moment. This happened in the Super Cup race yesterday where Jason Muscat led quite a lot, but he had high top speed to that car in comparison to his main competitor at that point, which was Svente Vries, and it was an overtake around the outside in that sector as David Fidek does pull out on Ruud Heasterbeek and going for 2nd position.
Does indeed, and he ploughed into the back of him on that long sweeping left-hander at the end. And look at Ranieri trying to get a double toe from the pair of them. Fidek late on the brakes. Can he do it down the inside? Lots of locking up. Heasterbeek's up onto the curb, and that's going to let Ranieri through, surely. Yes, he does. Ranieri follows his way through. Didn't need to work for that one. He just sat there and went, okay, I'll go after you, mate. Viaduct up to second, Ranieri to third. Heasterbeek loses 2 places in one corner, pulling out to have a little look back down to turn 1, but they all seem to have similar lines apart from Missilis, who goes a little bit tighter on entry. And watch out for that red archer, because he means business as Roland goes round the outside of Lee Morris into turn 1 and retakes 7th position. Great stuff by him. And the Nord Zone's battling for 9th and 10th with Vernonson just behind as well, as Roy Schroten retakes Adam Rouse for 17th, just off your screens too.
Yeah, Mr. a little look on Ruud Heasterbeek, who's dropped back a little bit from the back of Giuseppe Ranieri at the moment. This is when you'll see all the different setups and stuff, and the cars working away. Oh, and we've just been told that Lewis Redshaw, he is in the pit lane now. Got drive through for speeding in the pit lane. So his day goes from bad to just absolutely horrible. As David Feidick, wow, that was quite the dive bomb from David Feidick to try and get past Tom van der Voort. He needs to do something desperate, I suppose.
Needs to sort it out and make sure that there's no contact. Menno Klontz just overtaken Sumala for 15th positions off your screens round that tight long chicane. Van der Voort is trying, that's one move, that's all he can do. Unfortunately, Feidick now has to go for the outside and see if he can hold on later on the brakes as well than Tom van der Voort. Obviously he's got more downfalls around the outside. Can he hold it? Same with Missilis and Heasterbeek behind, and Feidick takes the lead just about from Van der Voort. Ranieri is right up there too. Missilis got round Heasterbeek at the same time, and Hagen has just got round Kasser as well. So there's lots going on as contact between the two before they even get to the braking zone for turn 1. Careful there between Feidick and Van der Voort. Ranieri just needs to sit back, because I think this one could end up in a little bit of carnage action. Possibly a few missing end plates by the end of it.
Yeah, you've got to just keep your head in it really, and not try and just Ranieri having a bit of a dive bomb. Wow, a bit of a lag. That was a lot of lag there. That was crazy. Oh, actually, Giuseppe Ranieri on the outside of this turn. Oh, David Feidick, is he going to do it?
Ooh, that would be a brave man if he can. Nope.
No, but yeah, that was a lot of lag from Giuseppe Ranieri that I had there. So, fortunately for Tom van der Voort, from the lead to second in under a lap.
Not at all, and he's pulling away where Ranieri had to defend there from Van der Voort after his attack action. Watch out too, because what this has done is closed the entire lot up from first to effectively 7th, because Heasterbeek has now fallen into clutches of Kenny Liberia, who's doing a great job in that Bod Ball, and Nick Rowland as well in the other Midnight Motorsports. Feidick there, look at the way they're snaking around. They've got to be careful, because you really can do the one move. And as much as we can all do a little Mexican wave down the straight as we try to dodge each other off, you have to be very careful. As Nick Rowland taps the back of Liberia, he's got to watch out for that one, because that, if you hit that too hard and the car goes around, you will be protested. So Tommy Hagen's got ahead of Peter Kazar off the back of that. Sven de Vries is still ahead of Menno Klontz for 14th and 15th. And that is all of the changes that's gone on. The battles really are amazingly up the front for the top 7 positions. And if they're not careful, the 2 Nord zones of Canapino and Davis will join onto the back of them very shortly.
Yeah, Kenny Liberia in position 6. Obviously, he finished 4th last time out for Vodball, so he did a very impressive drive to put himself into 4th position. Currently running in 6th, having a little defend from the Midnight of Nick Rowland, which is, I'm sure, not a car that you really want to have in your mirrors. Is the Midnight, considering how fast it is, and Nick Rowland is a good driver in it as well. So that's one that he has to keep his eye on. The lead, however, is still under a second between Giuseppe Ranieri and David Feidick, so we'll have to see if that one changes about, especially the difference between the cars when it goes down the straight with the wing difference.
Liberia
Liebert
leading the old Vodball train. Vernonson in the second, Liberia is in 11th, then in the second Liberia. Oh dear, he's got twins as they filter themselves down the straight. Ranieri once again getting into the slipstream of Feidick, but he just doesn't have enough straight, which you don't think you'd ever say that in China really, to do it. And Van der Voort there nearly gets hit by Missilis on the back, and Heasterbeek getting absolutely eaten up by the Vodball and the Midnight Motorsports, but they seem to be stalemating a little bit on lap 7 that they're starting of 56. And at what point would you say in your stint that you kind of think, right, I will sit behind and just see what happens and drop off. Oh, Roland! Oh, Liberia's over! Oh my goodness me! Smacks into the tyre barriers. Lee Morris takes extreme avoiding action. Liberia, don't spin the turn in front of your teammate. Go now. There's a 5-second gap. Oh no, he's stuck on the curb!
Oh no.
Oh, Kenny! Oh dear, Nick Rowland, you nearly killed Kenny, mate. That's not good.
Wow, that is very unfortunate.
You'll need a
I'm
beer
sure
after
that car
won't
is
you?
going to be absolutely broken because he did whack the wall pretty hard. Did Kenny Lieber there? So he will probably have to bring that one into the pit lane, see what damage there is in the car, and send it out again.
What a shame. Rejoining
Indeed.
15th position, just ahead of Mikhail Tsumala, and Nick trying to do his best Maldonado.
Yeah, it was a very, very good impersonation. Not quite as good as mine in Formula Challenge. That was 10 out of 10
You
for
got
me.
air.
Sorry.
You did.
Sorry.
I could hit a whole Lolotron underneath you. That was crazy stuff. What that has done though is, whilst the leaders have all kind of fractured themselves out a little bit. So we've now got Fidek and Ranieri on their own. Vandervalt's holding up Missilis, and Heasterbeek was holding up Liberia and Roland, but they've kind of fractured off into their own little duo. And who's that changing position? That is Clont and De Vries for 14th and 15th. Menno Clont taking the ST Racing driver. Can De Vries get him back on the undercut for 13th? No, he can't. Menno keeps it and will advance on. Sven De Vries clinging on for points in that ST.
Yeah, Sven De Vries obviously the first round for ST, I believe, and ended that one with a DNF and engine blown. I think it was on the last lap as well, after running in pretty good position. So back in that ST, and in actually a pretty decent position, especially for them. I believe that is the worst car on the grid, as he's gone a little bit wide and let Kenny bear fruit. But yeah, no, Sven De Vries has done a good job. I believe he's championship leader in the Super Cup, but my memory is generally rubbish. So yeah, you know, he's a very solid driver, especially for them to have in that team. A very good one, indeed.
Especially whilst their teammate Calvin Hamsey has already been overtaken by Lewis Redshaw, who's coming for a front wing change and a drive through. He's now up into the top 20, but admittedly a long way off. Still a long way to go though in this Grand Prix. Lap 8 of 56, and you've got the battle between Fidek and Ranieri as they come down the straight. Ranieri takes a little mincy out, but needs to be more committed than that.
Bit of a nudge there from Giuseppe here on the back of David Fidek. Yeah, it is, as has been pointed out by Karen Mann, as Kenny Lieber gets past Menno Clont as well, down in 13th and 14th. But yes, David Fidek and Giuseppe Neri still part of the same stable, as it were, you know, the same group. So in
Toro
some ways,
Rosso.
yes, exactly. It is kind of like the Red Bull Toro Rosso kind of thing, except they're two very good teams. Not that that's saying anything about Toro Rosso.
Scandal.
I'm not saying anything bad about Toro Rosso. I'm just saying that there is a clear difference. There's a clear number one and a clear number two team, whereas here that's not the case.
Everyone is a 0.5.
Indeed.
Fidek and Ranieri continue their wonderful ways. Vandervault now 5 seconds off the back of those two, so clearly dropping off. And Missilis is busy defending from Heasterbeek more than actually attacking Vandervault. So that's working to Nijo's favour in a way, as Kasser and Libeer go into battle for 12th and 13th positions. And I think, yeah, Adam Rouse and Roy Schroten crossed the line nearly side by side, but Schroten's got back ahead of Rouse, who's doing a mighty fine job.
Yeah, indeed. He's doing a very, very good job to keep that car in 18th position. As much as like 18th doesn't sound that impressive, he has literally just jumped into the car. So very impressive to keep that in the top 20.
Interesting to see how Fidek and Ranieri used Tommy Kovanen's slipstreaming for as long as possible and then darted out. I almost thought that they was going to come into blows at some point whilst that was being sorted out. Sorry, I've got a...
I did notice that Ruud Heasterbeek has just dropped behind Nick Rowland, who's himself back up into the top 5 as Nick. So good job from him. I'm not sure. I saw someone else moving about, but I couldn't really see who it was. Nevertheless, the gap between the leaders is still half a second, and that was something which is actually that happened last night in the Super Cup, where I believe it was in the longer race. Once Muscat had caught up to the back of St. Reese and overtaken him, that lead stayed within half a second for pretty much the entirety of that race. Past that point, it didn't go out of half a second at all. And so I think that's kind of what we're seeing here, is that this will probably stay at around half a second for quite a while between these two. Obviously, with pit stops and stuff like that, we'll change that up, I'm sure. But at the moment, it's looking quite close.
Calvin Hermsey completely outbraking himself to retake 23rd position from Boyd Bryson. Hermsey, I think, he's either been into the pits or he's been off the track, because he was 21st and then he's lost about 20 seconds somewhere along the line under the last couple of laps. And that will not... Well, about 8 seconds, sorry. So he's been off the track.
Yeah.
And
had a very slow lap a couple laps ago.
Yeah, 147. Even I could almost manage that in my Formula Challenged cars, as Mr. has a go at Roland and nearly collects him again. What's your take on this whole I'll give a little love nudge in the hairpin?
It's obviously something which was quite proficient back in Formula Challenge. Was each giving each other a little tap. Oh, I mean, I will apologise again to Nichols, Jack Nichols, for my tap. That was pretty severe. But yeah, no, it's as if sometimes the drivers do believe this is the Formula Touring Car Championship, which it's not. It's, you know, with Formula cars, we're supposed to keep it nice and clean, but some drivers seem to think it's okay to give them a little bit of a nudge out of the way, and it's I don't know, I'm not for it. I don't think it should happen.
Okay, book and approval. That and done. Clont onto the back of Casa for 12th and 13th positions as they sort themselves back out again. Tells me that Menno has got a little bit more speed than that Torrent Motorsports car has at the moment, as Casa outbrakes himself slightly in intersector 1, scoops it back up and keeps the position for now. Libeer closing them down. I think the way how he smacked those barriers has probably minimised the damage, because the way when he went into those barriers, he was practically at 90-degree angles, so I suppose it just smacked his T-bar.
Yeah,
as much as anything else.
And R factor kind of, it doesn't really pick up too well on when you're upside down, you hit a wall. It's kind of like, well, it wasn't the side, so that mustn't be damage. But yeah, so I think he may have lucked out on that one. Big Kenny, as much as you could say lucked out, but yes, down in P13, Kenny Libeer is right on the back of Menno Clont as he pulls out.
They're busy battling with each other. They forgot that Kenny was there, and I think Kenny quite fancies that position back. And indeed, nice and late on the brakes. Ooh!
Bit of rear lock in that.
A little bit. Change that brake bias for that corner as you sort yourselves back out, but still managed to keep it in 13th position, even if it was by giving Menno Clont some brown underwear in the process. Van der Vries just on the back of that in 15th, still in the points for ST. Also, problems further back for, it's Mikael Tumala who's popping into the pits. And I think this is our first scheduled pit stopper on lap 12 of 56 for Green Stripes Racing. He started on the options. Clearly had enough of those, and that drops him out of the weird Adam Rouse, Danny Asbury and Roy Schroten battle for 16th, 17th and 18th positions. The two Woods battling around with the Torrent Motorsports driver. Ending nicely.
Oh, I've seen that Nick Rowland got past Julius at some point. Not really sure when that was. However, he's right on the back of Tom van der Voort. It's Nick Rowland, so he's could be moving himself up into a podium position anytime soon, which is very, very impressive.
Pulling out to have a little stab. Pulls back in again. Oh, don't break on the curb so much. Does make me worry. Yes,
yeah, I know. It's not good breaking on those curbs. They will kill you.
We don't want dead Roland.
No,
I
did just see Van der Voort into the pit lane.
Yeah, lap 13. Unlucky for some. Early pit box for the Nijo team as well. Nice and on. What tyres will he go to, I do wonder?
Prime.
He's gone for Prime.
I was talking to Danny Asbury before this, and he's going... I know he's going for a 3-stop, but it's he said there's probably going to be a balance between people doing 2s and 3s at this event, and with people pitting on lap 11, it's looking like those people this early will probably be more likely heading for a 3-stop strategy.
The great thing for Vandervoort is that he's come out into clear air. He's got Tommy Hagen, who is already at the end of Sector 1 whilst he's going round the first opening couple of bends. So he's got plenty of time before he catches any particular traffic. And depending on how the other drivers will deal with themselves, they're busy battling. This could be a nice little easy gain.
Yeah.
He's on a slower compound, obviously.
Yeah, but even then being on a slower compound, he's on a fresh set of tyres. And P1, we've been told, yes, Giuseppe Ranieri on the outside of David Fidek.
Ooh, right round.
Not quite, but he is showing that he's got some potential. David Fidek not really giving him that much room. David Fidek heads into the pit lane, right, okay.
Well, that releases Giuseppe Ranieri. Now it's going to be the real battle of the clash of the heads, clash of the titans, as it were. David Fidek into the pits then from what was a rather bold move to almost push him off the track.
Options for Fidek, right, okay. So, very well. I think he's going for a 3-stop as well.
Interesting stuff. So Ranieri out on his own. Roland up to second. He's to beat to third. Morris to 4. Canapino to 5. Davis to 6. Vernonson to 7. Fidek rejoins just ahead of Tommy Hagen. That'll be good for him if he can keep that car behind, because Misselis is just exiting the pits now against Vandervoort. And this is actually going to be relatively close, but Vandervoort does indeed sweep round the outside into 1 and take that position and stay ahead. The gap nigh on the same as what it was 2 laps ago, so no big losses or gains between those two. And Ranieri, you can see, is pushing as hard as possible because he's locking up quite a few times this lap.
Yeah, he's obviously wanting to get straight back to the pit lane, especially if he wants to cover Fidek at the moment, so he's going to want to head back to the pit lane as soon as possible, and I reckon you'll see him in this lap unless he's doing something else strategy-wise and going for the 2-stop.
Danny Asbury's coasting down the pit lane and he's stopped in the pits, but I don't quite get... No, he's run out of fuel. Oh no!
Wow. Danny.
Each race is a different type of mechanical drama for Danny Asbury as Ranieri pops into the pits. We've had blown engines, now we've had running out of fuel. He's crashed into a few people as well, and it's just not been his 2014.
That is... oh, Danny, that is really bad. I'm sorry. That's pretty bad.
Oh, and a double stop there for Midnights because Roland's in this lap as well. Ranieri out on the options. Where is he in relation
Lee Morrison as well.
Oh,
Morten Vernonson.
Out. What's that? Oh, he's final corner. Oh, he's been smacked by Toby Davis. Toby Davis went into the pits. Vernonson crashed out. Oh, Toby.
That was pretty bad from Toby.
Oh, dearie me. New front wing for Davis. He continues on for Nordzone in 12th position, now 13th as he's rejoining. But
Morten Vernonson's down 16th, 17th.
Vernonson in the walls, in the wars and out of the race. That's a real shame there for Morton, who is now El Mort. Misselis still behind Vandervoort, but now battling for 5th and 6th positions. And everyone, Roland got out ahead of them.
Yeah, that was pretty bad from Toby, unfortunately. But
Ranieri out ahead of Fidek.
Yes, that is the interesting thing, and yeah, I would assume, as cameraman has pointed out, that Toby Davis's car will probably be broken after that one, as it just locks up. That car is not looking comfortable, but yes, as you pointed out, just in front of David Fidek. I reckon I don't know how David Fidek would have lost that much time on that lap, so I think different strategies between the two of them.
We'll soon see fascinating unveiling here at the Chinese Grand Prix for GPVWC in the Super League, and currently he's in the pits from the lead, so the lead's now going to be handed back over to Giuseppe Ranieri for Midnight Motorsports, looking like he desperately does want to please Lewis McGlade and get us 4 out of 4 for different winners. Then it's Fidek into second. He's to Beaks just coming down the pit lane, battling with Nick Roland, and Roland is absolutely pulling away from everyone and moves up into 3rd position. He's to Beak just rejoining. Where is he in relationship to Misselis? It's going to be close, but He's to Beak gets it and is out ahead of Misselis. Vandervoort then a big loser down to 6th. Morris into 7. Sven de Vries yet to pit in 8th position for ST. Take a picture of that one. ST Racing, that won't happen again for a long time. Lewis Redshaw up into 10th as he just overtakes Adam Rouse down into turn 1, but he's yet to pit properly. Canapino is in 9th, and that is Missilis and Hasterbeek side by side. Missilis goes through, takes 4th position. Beautifully done.
Indeed. I've also just received a poke from the big man, Will Panizzi, who apparently says that there was a really big unsafe release from Nick Rowland, who punted Augustin Canapino in his pit box. Ooh.
All the drama going on as
Indeed.
Garibaldi pops into the pits from 19th in the Hawkeye. Someone else is in as well. Kieran Ryan for Phoenix. Quite how they've dropped themselves so far down the field and are pitting again, I don't know. Kasser and Libia side by side for 14th and 15th positions. Petacazza, have been absolutely done around the outside by Kenny Libia, sadly. Both on option tyres. And they're both in trouble as Augustin Canapino overtakes Sven de Vries for 8th and 9th positions. Sven de Vries looking like he's going to be one of those going for the 2-stoppers.
Indeed, pushing that out as long as possible. I think Redshaw's got to be thinking of from now, doing a 2-stop, because that has really, really hurt him this race. And if he can pull off a 2-stop from now, that will put him hopefully comfortably within the top 10. But yeah, it's been a truly terrible start to the day for Lewis Redshaw.
Well, we've still got 24 people going. Our retirements then: Jordan Weeks, Mindergaus, Columbus. In that turn 1, lap 1 incident with both targets targeted and eliminated, essentially. Danny Asby ran out of fuel. Who is that?
Sven de Vries and Adam Rouse both in the pit lane.
Oh, indeed. As we've got Morton Burns in our 4th retirement. Still Tommy Covenant last and 24th as he reels in Calvin Hermsey. And Ranieri not pulling away from Fiduk, but they're certainly well clear of everyone else.
Yeah, they are really showing that they've got the class of the field at the moment. And I have seen that Fiduk's been closing up ever so slightly to the back of Giuseppe Ranieri. It was 1.5, I believe, the last time I saw. I want to see what it's going to be as they cross the line. This time, the gap between the two lead cars, but they have got a long way to the car behind, Nick Rowland, who is about 13 seconds off the back of David Fiduk. So yeah, that shows how quickly these two are moving around. Let's jump back up to 1.4 seconds. But I believe the previous 3 rounds we've had the winner run away with the win by quite a considerable margin, and I don't think we're necessarily seeing that today.
Definitely not. And the place where David Fiduk is losing it is actually in Sector 3. The first 2 sectors he's faster than Ranieri. It's the third sector that he seems to be slightly slower. So the order then on lap 18 of 56, just while we take a breather and everyone's done their first stops, it's Ranieri for Midnight ahead of CSG's David Fiduk and Nick Rowland in the second Midnight, sitting in third. The 4th position is Devidas Vasilis for Red Archer ahead of the Nijo duo, who are battling away a little bit between Ruud Heesterbeek and Tom van der Voort. 7th is Lee Morris in the top of the Kernos, ahead of Augustin Canapino, who's got Lewis Redshaw behind him in the second CSG in 9th position. Those two battling hard, and I think Lewis Redshaw is about to displace everyone's favourite sweetie friend down into turn 1 and at the end of sector 1. And indeed he does so and closes the door. Tommy Hagan is in 10th position for Red Archer VRT. Then Kenny Libby is 11th, recovering in the Vodball, ahead of Petacazza 12th for Torrent, Menno Klont 13th for Kerno, Toby Davis 14th for Nordzone, still going. Adam Rouse into the points, 15th for Torrent, well done to him. Just ahead of Sven de Vries in 16th for ST. Green Stripes' Mikhail Tumala is in 17th, just ahead of Roy Schroten and the sole remaining Woods in 18th. Gergo Baldi is in 19th for Hawkeye. And it's all fallen apart for Phoenix, with Kieran Ryan and Boyd Bryson 20th and 21st, ahead of Harry Hamnet, Calvin Hermsey and Tommy Coaten.
Yeah, with I think it's gapped quite a lot lower down the field, as Redshaw has got Augustin Canapino behind him. Nice and close at the moment. But yeah, it's all kind of like spread out a bit as we head onto this lap. But it's closed down a tenth when it comes to the two leaders on the previous lap, so it's not come down much. Whether it will come down at all after that, I'm not too sure. A long way to go in this race, however. You know, we're not even close to being halfway yet. I still don't know who's going to win this. I think Giuseppe Ranieri may have it, but I think it's way too early to tell what's going to happen strategy-wise between the two drivers as they come up to lap, Kieran and Ryan.
Out to our sole tweeter of the race so far, Ben Horrell Dinozio, who seems to be cheering on for Red Archers. Looks like they're doing a lot better than when you tweeted at 6th at 7th. They're currently running 4th and 10th, so potentially good points for them. Remember, you can send us a tweet with the hashtag GPVWC. I'll keep my beady eye out for it as we enter onto the end of lap 19 of 56, and they're coming around to lap Kieran Ryan, and that's always an experience at the best of times. And it looks like they're going to catch them on a straight, so hopefully it'll be less drama.
Yeah, it's as I think we've brought this up quite a few times before. When you're coming around to lap a car, you don't really want to be the first person to lap someone, because you're kind of the one that wakes them up to, oh hi, we're coming around to lap you now. If you're the second car, they're generally aware that you're coming around, but when you're the first one, you've got to wake them up. And these cars don't have any lights or anything like that. You can't flash, even though that's not really wanted anyway. But yeah, though it's
I enjoy a good flash.
Yeah, how pleasant. There's no other word for it.
No, it is the breath of fresh air. But that is one of the reasons why I like to have a massively bold colour scheme, because people don't not spot you coming, as Redshaw pits from 9th position, was 8th before he turned into pit lane. And there's something to be said for having a very bold colour scheme, because people soon wake up when their eyes bleed when you're in their mirrors.
Yeah, also Rachel's gone onto the option tyres, so unless he wants to go 16 laps on them, I think he may actually still try what would be technically a 3-stop, will be a 4-stop by the end of the event. From so 2 more maybe for Redshaw. I'm not really sure where it's going strategy-wise with this, but either way.
Rejoined in 11th, not too far behind Kenny Lybeer, and although it was massively close up front for the first, say, 8 to 10 laps, now that the field settled into a rhythm, the field spread is really grown out again, not just towards the second half of the field, but just throughout. And so actually, I think easily top 10, but he could well be back up again and battling around with potentially Morris and Canapino and co by the end of the race, maybe.
Yeah, quite possibly. As we've said that it is a long race that these guys are doing. It's again not like Supercar Performance Challenge where there's 2 races. This is just one, Grand Prix, as it were. So,
what's happened to Harley Hamnet?
Ooh.
He is disconnected, or he's lagged off, disappeared. The Australian, clearly.
Oh no, he's back.
He is back, and he's right behind Boyd Bryson.
That was. I'm sure that would be scary for Boyd, just driving around and then pop. But yeah, Harley's back. That's good. We don't like seeing people lag out. However, his ping is quite high. I wouldn't really want to be going wheel to wheel with that, unfortunately.
No. Bosses like it hard down under, and clearly he's doing it Secret Squirrel and Missilis trying to lap the pair of Bryson and Hamnet. And I have to say, actually, although there's quite a lot of straights, when you do catch someone in the corners around here, because they're corners that seem to go on for quite a while in general, it's very difficult to get out of the way and not cause an issue.
Indeed. I have seen that Superleague nearly has, I would say, by the time they cross the line this time, it'll be about 2 seconds, as Superleague got at the moment. So I wonder if Felix tyres are dropping off just a little. Let's see what happens as they cross the line. 1.8, so nearly 1.9. So yeah, that gap is extending.
Hamnet and Bryson side by side, 21st, 22nd. Hamnet takes the position. Boyd Bryson being so generous with Ruud Heasterbeek, who completely mucked up his own hairpin exit. And Harley says, thank you very much for that. Boyd Bryson, I think the sole South African in this field today. Flips down to 22nd. It's such a shame for Phoenix, because that car looked quite good a couple of races ago, and this race is certainly...
Sorry. I was just saying that Adam Rouse had just nudged Toby Davis back in 15th and 14th position, a bit of a nudge as they head onto the back straight. So Toby Davis not having such a good drive at the moment.
Adam just giving him a "this is what you done" earlier, and it looks like he's going to have a good go down into the hairpin as well. Late on the brakes, Toby gives him the room, does he? Rouser bouncing across the inside curb. both come out of it together, but I think Toby's got more momentum down to the final corner, gives him just about enough room. Different tyres though. Toby Davies is on the prime against Adam Rouse on the option, and this could be an interesting turn 1.
Indeed, turn 1 has it's sort of like a few overtaking opportunities. Oh, yeah.
Stop pincering. Rousey gets through. I tell you what, you can't squeeze old Adam out of it, because he will just stick his nose cone right where the sun doesn't shine. And, yes, that one. Toby, in a wounded car as it is, on a slower tyre, needed to know that maybe that one was not going to swing his way. And Rousey up to 14th.
Yeah, Rouse up to 14th on jumping in at the end of the warm-up session. So good job from him. But I mean, with Toby, that car is pretty. We reckon it's pretty broken. Oh, Adam Rouse got over the curb a bit. That's going to cost him time-wise down towards his chicane, but no, it's all right. But yeah, no, Toby in that damaged car is not having a good day at the moment. Down 15th position, not where he'd want to be. Not where I'd. At the start of the season, there was quite a lot of drivers that I was thinking would be in a fairly decent position, and Toby was one, especially in that first qualifying session. I think he was 5th in the first qualifying session.
It went wrong down at turn 3 or something, didn't it?
Yeah. With him braking too late and went into the Easter Beacon. I think it was a 10-place grid drop from that. So
Rusty's now starting to pull away and getting himself back on the swing of things again. Who else is a mover or a shaker currently at the moment? Vandervoort's being reeled in by Lee Morris, or
different tyres.
7th.
Different tyres as well. Yes, Tam Vandervoort is the highest placed driver on the prime compound tyre.
Mahler's back in again, and he's only been on these tyres for 11 laps, so I don't know if he's thinking of doing a 4-stop. That might be a bit of an issue for Mikkel, who is leading for the Green Stripes team and will still be doing so, but that's going to drop him out of contention for points currently as it stands.
Yeah, it's never come to win yet. Dropped out of points contention. That's what quite a lot of the drivers, I think pretty much everyone, is here to fight for. We all like to score some points, but it's a shame that Mikkel is running in 20th position. It's, as I say, it's a long race. Things can come back to you though.
What's it like to score points?
Well, you should know as of Spa last season in the Formula Challenge.
But like in general, if you see that actually you're a midfield team and you go in and you think, right, I'm at least expecting a 12th or something, as Covenant gets scared off the road whilst being lapped for the second time. Oh, careful with Fider! Ooh, I think, did David lose a bit of time there? That looked like they was about to come together. When you go into a race as a midfield team, I think if you're it's one of those ones where it's amplified if you're having a bad day, because the midfield is so much more closer knit and together as a pack. If you have a bad day, you're down in 20. If you have a good day, you're up in 8th or 9th. How do you deal with being a mid-pack driver, and do you have different skills or qualities that are needed for that?
Yeah, no, it's quite a complicated thing. It's when you come into a weekend, it's it's not weekend, it's midweek. Let's go with that. When you come into a race of evening, you always have expectations, even though there's people like, oh no, it doesn't matter, I'll just sit here and do this, that and the other. And it's like that's wrong. Everyone has some level of expectation as to where they're going to be. And when, like Redshaw, okay, now Lewis Redshaw would be expecting to be up with this top lot, and he's now bumbling around 11th position. That's going to feel absolutely horrible. Yeah. Whereas with ST, when Sven de Vries in that car, they were expecting, probably not expecting Sven, because Sven's a very, very good driver. But when they're expecting their drivers to be further towards the back because their car is just not fast enough. And however, he is running in almost in the points. He's in 16th position at the moment, and that's going to feel very, very good. It's all about your expectations and how the team reacts, like as a whole team thing. As much as quite a lot of the time, some drivers just tend to want to not really do too much for the team. It's just I want this seat to drive, and that's all. It is a whole team thing. Apparently, Kenny Lee Beresbaum getting passed by Redshaw. Oh, bit of a slide there as well. Out of turn 3. But it's all about expectation, Smithy.
I think the expectation will be that Redshaw will be up into the top 10 very shortly as Kenny Lightbeer misses the apex like a plague and just about clings on for 10th, but I think Redshaw will try and do the old sweeperoo and have him on the exit of the chicane. Chops across, nicely done. Lightbeer in a broken car, Redshaw in a slightly broken car. It's all a bit Meccano set, but Redshaw up into 10th, Lightbeer down to 11th. 58 seconds currently off of... What's he doing that for?
Yeah, that's
Weird.
a bit of an odd one.
Can't be losing temperature.
No, it's definitely not a temperature thing. That was, I think, it was more of a. Apparently, it was. I'm going to assume it was. It's more defensive. I'm sitting here just in case you do close up to the back of me, because I do know that Fodball has got a lot of his upgrades spent on drag reduction. I believe it is on the front and rear wing, but Redshaw's got a nice gap at the moment, and I think Lewis is doing a very good recovery drive, especially in consideration of what happened early on in the race. So to get back into the top 10 at the moment is good for him.
Very reminiscent of Brittany's real career. I think a little bit of a resurrection as Morris on Van der Voort for 6th and 7th. He had half a look down at the end of Sector 1. 35 seconds off the old leaders. But Tom still looking like he's going to get potentially his best finish, or at least definitely his most competitive run so far since the start of the year, as Lightbeer in the pits. And he's going to rejoin somewhere around Adam Rouse for 13th and 14th. In fact, he's just going to beat him out the pits.
Yeah, which means those two could be side by side roughly up towards turn 1. No, it's because Kenny's got a nice jump at the moment, and Kenny has gone on to the option tyres, so he should probably not be under attack in that position at the moment. But Menoclon has then moved up into 11th position, and Petacasa up into 12th. That's the only position change that's really happened because of that. So that shows how spread out everyone is at the moment when a 20-second pit stop can give that much of a difference. Yes, Vidic into the pit lane.
And exiting again all of the ready. Now just ahead of Davidas Misalis, and that is extremely important for him because Misalis is actually going quite quickly and is in 4th position, and really his mates.
Lee Morris, Tom Van der Voort.
Yeah.
Tom Van der Voort on the primes, and Lee Morris on the options. That's the difference between those two. Lee Morris straight past.
Nice clean driving from the pair of them. Oh, not now!
Well, you had to say it. You had to say it.
Van der Voort, what a shame. That was all very much. That reminds me of
I remember it was Kimi Räikkönen and I think it was Sergio Perez. I think it was in China last season in Formula 1.
Exactly,
having a nice little contact, pretty much just like that. That was not comfortable.
And a Sutil moment at the same corner in the wet, except he went through a marker board at the same time, which always looks better. Yeah. Love the polystyrene effect. They should do that more often in F1. Just make bits of the road full of polystyrene because it makes it all so dramatic. But Van der Voort, they're losing a good 5 seconds on Morris, and sorry Tom, I may have cursed you a bit there. Roland's in.
And
who
else
in
is
as
now?
well.
Nick Rowland into the pits.
Yeah, Misalis following him in as well. The Ranieri leads the way from Vidic. Heasterbeek 3rd. Misalis and Lee Morris goes up into 4th. Get your words out, you gob, Simon, instead of chewing them like the cud. And Tommy Hagen has now got Lewis Redshaw behind him, and Hagen could not find out how to get out that hairpin if that could have saved his life in that red Archer, but he's got it going again now.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering where Giuseppe Ranieri is going to be now. I don't find it on the option tyres again, so obviously having to pit at least once more. I would assume it would be once more, considering at the end of this lap we will pass the halfway point of the race, so I think Vidic has only got one more stop to go where he'll go onto the prime compound tyre. And I'm wondering just what Giuseppe Ranieri is going to do. Is he going to come in this lap? Yes, he is. Is he going to go onto the primes or the options? I'm going to assume options. I think he's going to follow the same strategy as David.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm good at this.
I have to give you some crystal balls. As
Yeah.
Redshaw has a go down the inside of Hagen. The double left-hander, that was brave and respectful between the pair of them. Tommy has a little look at the end of Sector 2. Don't often see a move go down there because it's an ever-closing apex. Ranieri ejects himself from pit lane on lap 29 of 56 and still leads quite nicely from Fiduk. Easterbeek yet to pit in third, and Morris is in for Kerno in fourth position, and he's got not nearly as much pressure as what he would have had a lap or two ago, as Van der Voort follows him in several seconds back.
Yeah, but Giuseppe Ranieri is putting in one hell of a drive at the moment. He's leading by 5 seconds, is Giuseppe Ranieri, and Lee Morris is dropping down the order, obviously, with that pit stop. Augustin Canapino is in behind him. Lewis Redshaw moves up into 6th position, I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
It has just updated for me. So,
Hagen's in as well. Clearly
yes,
is the lap to pit, isn't it?
Indeed, indeed. I've also just noticed on the side of Tommy Hagen's car, the 11 is backwards. It's apparently a bug with the car. I've only just noticed that. Okay, so it's a problem with the template. Okay, I was wondering, I only just noticed it. But yeah, so Tommy Hagen out in 12th position. Augustin Canapino. Wow, there you go. See, I'm struggling to get my words out as well. He's out in 8th, and Lee Morris out in 7th.
Tommy Hagen sounds like a name that you would give a comedian.
Yeah.
Tommy Hagen live at the Palladium. It just rolls off the tongue as Boyd Bryson nearly rolls into the back of Mikhail Tumala in the battle for 21st and 22nd positions. He's been going for a couple of laps. This Redshaw's coming around to lap the pair of them, but Boyd clearly seems to have more pace at current. They're both on prime tyres, but Tumala has been getting all the blocking, and I think Boyd is now going to have his best chance at going up into the position. Does so indeed, and then Tumala kind of gives up. Oh, Redshaw! And Bryson, no. So, I've done that before, and then afterwards you go, you utter pillock to yourself because you can't believe what's happened. And Bryson pops into the pits anyway. Kovanen's just come into the pits and got back his wooden spoon position as Hamzi moves up to 23rd. And Kasser's got Hagen behind him actually now that he's come out the pits.
Yeah, slight interest in who is in. Oh, okay, I'm on a bit of a slide, I believe. But looking at P3 with Ruud Heasterbeek. Now, I know he's only like 2 seconds off of the back of Fiduk, and that's less the point. He's closed up because he's only pitted once, from what I can see.
Yep.
So Ruud Heasterbeek clearly running a very different strategy to the top two, where it seems like that the general strategy at the moment is running this 3-stop. Whereas everyone else, is running this 3-stop. Whereas Ruud Heasterbeek is kind of going, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll try this too. Obviously, I think it was back in Malaysia. He was running a different strategy to everyone else and pitted one less time and went on to win that race by quite a margin. As Gogo Bowdy has spun in the background at the hairpin, I believe.
He's into the pits now from 18th position. It's not been Baldy's
he didn't have
day at all, is he?
Yeah, he didn't have a spin. He just had a really big slide. So I think those tyres are just absolutely disintegrated.
Parents named him after that biscuit.
Yeah.
Garibaldi.
Yeah. Have we not had this discussion almost every time we've done a Super League broadcast?
I thought that was a new one. I'll have to look at my repertoire. It's all getting a bit stale, a bit like his driving if he was a biscuit, because he's a couple of laps. Well, not a lap down.
Indeed. But
Harley Hamlet missed his grid box in 20th position. That's not good. Poor
that's
Aussie.
never a good feeling when you break and you know you've done it before you've actually stopped. You kind of like, oh no, I've braked too late for this. Damn.
You put that on par for when you bugger up turn 1 at the start of a hot lap in qualifying. As Calvin Hermsey tries to unlap himself from Gurgle Baldy and then practically scares the pair of them off the road. That's a bizarre incident
into
for
the pits.
Calvin to decide to actually be fast and have a go. So not quite sure what's going on there. As Kasser and Klont do battle of the pit lanes on lap 31. And I think it's going to be Klont that wins. Gurgle Baldy Seat of your panties.
I'm gonna have a little replay to see what happened there. Oh wow, yeah, okay, that was 1 moment and a half. He was trying to enter some sort of drifting competition.
Travis
It's a very,
Pastrana
very
would
good
be
job
happy.
Yes, it's a very, very good job to catch that. I'm sure Calvin behind was like, oh, damn, this is going to end badly.
Yowts. Rude Heasterbeek's in from 3rd position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure what's happening with Gergo, but he's clearly decided that he's now in a Dodgem, and that car is looking a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah.
Continues on. Tell you what is also looking worse for wear. Sven de Vries is desperately trying to hold off Toby Davis. Oh, Schroten and Kasser have collected each other. 16th, 17th position.
No.
Contacting the double left-hander, and they've rejoined again side by side. I think Kasser's going to take the position, but that was battle at dawn as David Feiduck is coming round to lap the pair of them. And this could well end up as a battle for the final points-paying position, to be fair. I think Schroten is yet to pit for a second time, but that was contact between the two, and Toby Davis is just going around the outside of Sven de Vries for 13th position down at the hairpin, and de Vries holds it, but I think they would. Oh dear, that's a little bit naughty on the old darting love nudge. Goodness gracious me! I thought that was looking like it was going to be all kinds of issues as Rouse is in the pits, so they've moved up to 12th. Davis down the inside again, but he's going to run out wide. De Vries, I'd be careful and just sting it up the inside.
Having a little bit of a knock. I
And that's the issue with different lines into one, isn't it? Because you could go, that is my normal line, and no one would have a damn clue, would they, to be fair?
Yeah, no, this is the thing, is that turn 1, unless you're keeping completely tight to that inside, it opens up, you sometimes drift out a bit wide to give you a good line through too. But if you keep that tight line, then you're slower through it, so then someone else is going to sneak around to your outside. It's such a complicated corner, it's such a hard corner to actually defend on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Only holes a goal, and if you open one up like that, you're only asking for someone to go and infiltrate it, to be fair, as Redshaw pops into the pits from 6th position. And what's that a change of? That was... Canapino and Vandervoort battling away 8th and 9th places. Canapino's another one who has only stopped once.
Yes. Oh, that was the other thing. That was the other thing I wanted to bring up, is what Ruud Heasterbeek came out of the pits on. He came out on the option, so he has to pit again, so he's not gone for this 2-stop drive. I said he might have been. I reckon he could have probably pulled it off if he could have kept those prime compound tyres going for long enough. So either that's a strategic mistake, or clearly he doesn't like the option. Sometimes the difference in compound, the difference between the options and the primes, can mean that the primes just feel absolutely horrid. So yes, I see Toby Davis and Menno Clont switching positions because Toby Davis is in the pit lane.
As is Sven de Vries following him in for ST, still looking like a candidate for points as Roy Schroten pits in as well from 16th place. And it's all gung-ho for the last couple of places of the points table, and that one won't unravel itself until right towards the end. But I can't help but feel like Ruud Heasterbeek has almost missed a trick there with that strategy call.
Yeah, I kind of feel that must have been a mistake. Just when entering the pit lane, you've not selected the right tyres, because I don't know, it's a bit of an odd one. Go Baldi spun at the final hairpin.
Canapino, Vandervoort and Redshaw all battling away for position, come across an errant Gergo Baldi biscuit, and quite frankly he's taken the bite out of the car, and Redshaw there nearly takes a bite out of Tom Vandervoort and takes the position as he's pushed out wide by Augustin Canapino. Everyone's favourite sugary sweet is now going to be done down the inside. Oh, goodness me, contact between the two. What was Redshaw doing? There was not enough room there. Canapino had closed the door, and he rejoins in 8th. Vandervoort wins out on that one, goes up into 7th on the prime compound tyre. Canapino to 8th. Redshaw has rejoined in 9th with notably less rubber on that tyre than what it was when he entered that corner, and Hagen is right there in 10th as well, ready to take up the pieces.
He's probably... There's probably going to be some damage on that car as well, some suspension damage on the front. That was a bit of a dodgy one that probably would require some looking at post-race between the two. I'm not really sure where I'm going to go with that one.
No.
But, yeah, it's a bit of an odd one there.
It's just, when you go into that corner so tight, you were only going to push yourself out wide anyway. So I suppose it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and unless you're an absolute fat man, you can't cram the whole ton in.
Yeah, having a little bit of a weave on that straight, just showing that, yep, I'm really not happy with you. I had noticed that Canapino, yeah, indeed, channel that energy and get his way past. He's going to have a go down into the second to last turn. But I did notice that Canapino was holding up Tom van der Voort for quite a lot of that race. That's good for Van der Voort.
Look at how close they wanted to touch the wheels there. Got to be careful as Canapino's going to do the old switcheroo. Can he make it work?
No,
he can't. Redshaw stays ahead then, up to 8th position then. Augustin Canapino down to 9th, still top Norge zone. And nothing. Stop the weird weaving. No, that must be confusing for anyone.
I'm sure that's just, as I say, as a signal of, yeah, I'm not happy with you.
If he then has a tyre go off at the last lap or two, then you're only going to look a fool's.
Indeed.
And Brittany looked a fool when she got married and then divorced within a day. And if he has a punch on the last lap, he's going to be fool's boys twos. Always veer on the side of caution with these things.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like people who flash lights to when they've been angry at someone when we've got touring cars. Which touring cars ITC starts on Monday. We can get into that towards the end of the broadcast.
Oh yes.
But yeah, it's like flashing lights. I remember someone who will not be named in a league that will not be named either, who was not happy with someone in the pit lane, and he went to flash his light and accidentally pressed the speed limiter button in the pit lane. And well, as cameraman alludes to who that might be, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a bit silly, you know. It's kind of just a bit unnecessary.
Van der Voort now under attack from Redshaw. Baldy has parked his car, so clearly enough damage there to warrant him parking that. And for the Hawkeye, Redshaw trying to go around the outside. Van der Voort will not have any of that. No love lost between these two of late, and Redshaw steams it up the inside into the final turn. Gets caught on the curb though. That happens quite easily, and it's one of those curves that once you get wedged on it, it's very difficult to pull yourself back off it again, and you just have to ride it through to the end. A bit like the balance beam at gymnastics. Don't do that, Redshaw. That was a tap before you then get past Van der Voort, and that is bump and grind overtake.
Maybe he's really trying to get used to this whole touring car driving, which he's going to have to do on Monday for CSG and Bahrain. He's really getting used to it. I'm sure he might actually fit in.
Van der Voort
dives down the inside. Yeah.
I tell you what, the old Dutchie has got the old crutchy and pulled it right up to get through there as Redshaw steams his nose through. Someone's going to end up without a front wing very shortly if these two hotheads don't calm themselves down. And Van der Voort has history of never coming out quite well in those situations. I.e. the entire back end of 2013 as Redshaw locks up dramatically.
Yeah, I think Redshaw seems to be looking in all of the wrong places at the moment, you know, for a move, as we saw earlier on when he had that instant. He's not being patient enough. Obviously, when you've had your race ruined at the start, then you're just wanting to get move after move after move done. You don't care about anyone else. You just want to get it done. As he's having a look around. You get that
weird mentality. What on earth was that? I know he was trying to avoid the move, but it's again more tyres that are losing, more anger that gets into the wheel, which translates to more jagged driving, which is loss of time, and it's just that old Yeti snowball comes out again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It just kind of it just snowballs up, and Redshaw around the outside of Van der Voort this time at turn 1.
Nicely done that time by. Credit where the credit is due. However, he was severely on a bankruptcy the previous couple of laps, but sorting it back together. Up to 7th position. Was that my commentary?
No, nothing. No, it's okay. But no, Redshaw, I don't know. He's just not had a good day in that car, to be honest. So he just wants to get as high up the grid as possible. And I think if you think of it this way, if he hadn't done that move on Canapino, then in turn 1, he probably would have got past him later on that lap, and would have already been way off from this lot going to catch Morris. So that's the whole thing of, especially in a race that's as long as this, you just have to be patient. It is so important to be patient in this. And and let things unravel and time just let things happen. Don't try and force the issue properly, because that only causes, as we've seen earlier with Redshaw, a slight incident that then puts you 2 positions back.
Well, lap 38 then of 56 here at the GPVWC Super League Chinese Grand Prix of 2014. Let's take you for a quick run through of the order whilst they are not absolutely bit-slapping each other out on track at the Moes. We've got Giuseppe Ranieri up on top for Midnight Motorsports. 5.4 clear at the moment of David Fiduk, who's keeping him honest but is not quite all over that gearbox like a sniffy squirrel. Third is Nick Rowland, who is being closed down on quite quickly by Ruud Heesterbeek, who seems to be intent on catching that podium lot. The gap between them is 1.5 seconds and it's coming down. Davidus Masilis is in 5th position, still not too far behind, just over 6 seconds back for Red Archer. Then it's Lee Morris in 6th for Kernel, good job. Lewis Redshaw 7th for CSG. Nijo's Tom van der Voort is in 8th, ahead of Augustin Canapino for Nordzone in 9. Red Archer's Tommy Hagen rounds out the top 10. The last of the unlapped drivers is Kenny Liberian in 11th for that Vodball Racing, which has already been upside down somehow, and it's still going. 1 lap down in 12th is Menno Klont in the second, Kerno for 12th, much needed points for them potentially. The Torrent Motorsports are 13th and 14th, Casa and Rouse, and they're not that far apart. This is great from Adam Rouse, to be fair, considering with the high esteem that Peter Casa is held at. So 13th, 14th for them. Nordzone's Toby Davis clunking round in 15th. Sven de Vries now down to 16th and out of the points for ST. He'll be disappointed, with Kieran Ryan not far back actually. Then Mikhail Tumala for Green Stripes, Harley Hamnet for Hawkeye, Roy Schroten for Woods, Boyd Bryson for Phoenix. Then 2 laps down, along with Bryson, is Tommy Coven, and 3 laps down but still going is Calvin Hermsey, still looking for his first finish out of 4 attempts.
Yeah, you say about Adam Rouse obviously being in 14th position, it is just very, very impressive. And Menno Klont sitting in for Kerner. Now, that is also pretty good. Yeah, I think I don't know how many points Sam Miller has scored this season, who was the person who's
2.
usually in that seat. So, Menno Klont clearly showing that he's really got it. Got hold of that car very quickly. I do know that Menno has been impressing as of recent, in Super Cup, where he's been doing some very good results there. So clearly showing that he's got potential for Super League, does Menno?
Liberia into the pits of Oddball from 11th position, taking on what would be his last tyre change.
Yeah.
It continues to reel in Nick Rowland slowly but surely. I think this third podium slot is going to be so heatedly hot. We should get out a jacket potato and get cooking.
Yeah, I think obviously with Ruud has to pit again for to get some primes on that car, as does quite a lot of people. Whereas Nick Rowland is running around the primes at this present moment in time, so Nick will pit for some options when he comes in again. So I kind of think Nick may actually have this one, which is good, especially considering I don't think earlier on in the season. Well, I know that earlier on in the season he was not supposed to be in that car. Yet called in fairly last minute in Australia.
Seems to be a theme this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, just being called in last minute. You literally, the race is about to begin in 2 minutes' time. Do you want to drive? Oh, no problem.
Kieran Ryan, stop! 17th position. That having a go at Sven de Vries in the battle for 16th position, and that was Redshaw and Canapino replayed, only without the contact. Though Kieran misses the entire of turn 1 effectively, but he's got much more speed in that Phoenix compared to the ST, and is straight onto the back of Sven. I think we'll have half a go if he can. Canapino on the back of Van der Voort for 8th and 9th as well, and Hamnet on the back of Tumala for 18th and 19th, so plenty of battles to choose from.
Yeah, I saw Mikhail Tumala just gone out wide on the final turn, and that is something very easy to do. That final turn is not easy. It's who pit?
Fiduk.
Ah, okay.
Oh, Kieran.
Oh.
Careful on the cars and the tyres and the breakable bits. Never a good sign, but Kieran then gets out onto the back straight and much better drive. Sven de Vries goes so was that contact?
That looked like a little bit of contact there. They've also got to keep their eye on the mirrors and who's behind.
Absolutely.
So we've got to be letting him pass at some point.
Nicely done on the old switcheroo there, Kieran. Couple of bits of bashing, but when you actually done it, you done it right. And that's a good position change there. Harley Hamnet too has just overtaken Mikhail Tumala onto the back straight, just behind us in 18th and 19th. And now I think Tumala's trying to get the slipstream. Green Stripes versus Hawkeye. Who would have thought we'd have seen the Hawkeyes battling for 18th as a good place for them this race. Hamnet keeps the position by taking the most bizarre line into the hairpin and then blocking the exit. If it works, it works.
Oh!
Tumala.
Yeah, okay,
Dearie
Mikhail
me.
Tumala had the same thing as Toby Davis
Oh!
earlier on.
Harley, are you stuck in? He's going. Oh no! Peekaboo! That Australian ping.
That must be something quite interesting to be driving down the pit lane and see Harley sitting there. Hold on, I didn't hit you that far, did I? Jeez.
Harley's gonna get you. Harley's gonna get
That
you.
was that, however, was unfortunate for Harley. It was the same thing that we saw with Toby Davis. It's just the way this pit entry works, with it being on the outside of a very fast turn. Ooh.
Sorry, that was just Calvin Hermsey completely getting it wrong in turn 2. So he just rejoins 4 laps down now in the ST car. Struggle. I didn't think he was. I thought it was his last race last time round. I don't know why he's back in the car this time, but at least he can get a finish. Hopefully that'll be good. But yes, that pit entry, real issues, and thank God we're not in Korea or anything like that for their pit exit, because having seen that, oh yeah, Canada, that's another one.
Oh god, that one's going to be hilarious.
Mind you, Canada's got the Wall of Champions, and everyone loves a little love nudge with that one.
Yeah.
As who is that? That is. Sorry, I got all confused. It's Toby Davis about to be lapped by Roland and Heasterbeek, who are now nigh on nose to tail.
But yeah, that pit entry is really kind of horrible. I mean, it's nowhere near as dangerous or stupid as the one in South Korea, because South Korea's got an easy fix. They could just like do the pit lane off of the third to final turn or something like that. Just do it somewhere better. But here, it's just the way it is. There is an easy way to do it. Just have it turn off a little bit earlier, as opposed to having a car go full throttle into the back of another car. Never
good as Ranieri's in.
Yeah, but no one has quite done the Lewis Hamilton yet, and has chucked it over the gravel. So that's good.
And come to a really pathetic stop.
Yeah.
The happiness. So Ranieri rejoins in the lead. Still very much from Fidek. Roland versus Heasterbeek. Down into the final turn.
Toby Davis going over. He went. Yeah.
And Heasterbeek trying to do what Redshaw done earlier, a wide sweep in to get the grip and momentum round this long turn, but Roland's got it covered. Rolly Pole keeps third position for the time being. As who is that? That is Canapino going down the outside of Vandervoort into the hairpin. Vandervoort hips over the curb, but Canapino's got enough room and takes 9th position as Roland goes out a little bit wide with Heasterbeek as well. So it's all kicking off as Missilus pits and rejoins behind Lewis Redshaw.
Yeah, I think Canapino and Vandervoort are going to be bit of a nudge there between the two. And Vandervoort up the inside. A bit more of a nudge there between the two. Vandervoort off the track. Sure.
Mow the grass.
Sure. But yeah, I think they've all got to pit again, where Vandervoort will be on the options if he does. So, yeah. It may turn out for Vandervoort for a better result, but that was a little bit of nudging all the way through turn 1 and 2 there.
Boris is pitted, as has Tommy Hagen. So they have rejoined in 9th and 10th positions. Rude Heasterbeek tucked up right behind Nick Rowland. Is he going to pop out at the last minute to have a look? No, he's not. So interesting that he wasn't quite able to get close enough to have a go down into that hairpin this time by. And neither of them pit. Lap 44 of 56 they are on. So they're trying to eke out the tyres on this stint as long as they humanly possibly can, but I'd have thought that actually it's in Roland's interest almost to some degree. All minor contact between the two and the switch between 1 and 2. It's almost in Roland's interest to get off those slower tyres and onto the faster one, but I suppose you don't want to You want to react to the
Oh,
pits as
Heasterbeek.
Heasterbeek. The old dummy. Switcheroo right through and beautifully into third position. Can he hold it? He's got the momentum, comes back across onto the racing line. Wonderfully done there.
As I say though, Heasterbeek's got to come in and put on those, put on some primes. Whereas Nick Rowland, if he does come in, which I'm pretty confident he will. I mean, he did pit quite a while ago. Let's have a look when his last stop was. His last stop was on lap 28. So unless he could do 30 laps on these tyres, he may come in again, and we'll put on some fresh options, which could work out very nicely for him. So I think Nick may have that podium back. You say Canapino, okay?
Oh no, that's all right. I was just going to say Canapino is just rejoined from the pits in 9th position. Though that's going to sort out the battle between him and Van der Vault, surely.
Yeah, should hopefully calm that one down. We don't need them crashing into each other anymore.
You've been judged.
Yeah, you have
There's
officially
Rowland's
been
in.
judged.
Rowland in then from 4th position. And onto those tyres. I suppose you can't keep up with Heasterbeek, so now is a time where you put on the faster rubber.
Some options.
Get it going. I suppose with 11 laps left to go, you don't have to worry about tyre conservation. It's now just bang it through to the finale.
Yeah, it's just once you've gotten to this point, it's all or nothing. You've got 12 laps to go until the end of the race. You might as well just push every single lap in these tyres. I still wonder what's happening with Ruud Heasterbeek. I do believe that he should, that his original strategy must have been to go onto the primes at this point. So, yeah, I don't know, because he's just, if he goes into the primes now, that's a really illogical part of the strategy, unless he really, really doesn't like them. As he's come up to lap Adam Rouse. 12 laps on the primes when you can do, I think he did 20 something laps on the options earlier on in the race. So it just doesn't add up. So I'm pretty confident he should be on the primes at the moment.
The Vault just exits the pits from 8th position, well clear of Augustin Canapino. So that's going to see that battle resume again, because they were the other way around, I believe. So we'll see how that one sorts itself out. Nick Rowland is behind Lewis Redshaw in 4th and 5th positions. Now we think Redshaw will have to pop in again, but Redshaw up in 4th, 38 seconds off. He will pit, but even if he does pit, that will still put him out around Lee Morris. So
the thing is that if he doesn't pit, then he would have to do 22 laps on these tyres, and I don't think that's too good, but those tyres are going to be looking manky. Yep, straight into the pit lane, as you say. Would have thought so. He's probably going to go on some options, because I think he's already run the primes earlier on in the race, so should have a pretty nice drive from now on.
Bryson and Hermsey in the pits as well.
Saw Kennedy back on a lap down.
Ooh. Bit worried there the way the camera angle was against the pit lane entry and exit. Redshaw onto those tyres. Rowland up to 4th, then Misselis to 5. Morris just exiting the final corner now. He will overtake Lewis Redshaw, I believe, before they get down to turn 1. It's going to be close, actually. No, Morris is there alongside. Redshaw gets out just ahead of Lee Morris into 6th position. And, well, all to play for Redshaw, top 6. And he's on the options opposed to Morris on the primes. So you kind of think battle advantage for the CSG driver.
Yeah, I'm sure this battle with Morris is not going to be a battle he's going to be taking part in. He's got to eye his places eye just a little bit further down the road, even though I don't think he's going to catch Devidas in front. So it could just be a nice, comfortable 6th for Redshaw, which would be a good job, a good recovery drive for Redshaw, especially when you consider what happened early on in the race. He will obviously lose championship lead. Just to point that out, I believe David Fidek would be comfortably within championship lead, but we'll go double check that. Yes, he will. David Fidek will be in the championship lead. Redshaw may drop behind Giuseppe Rainieri. How many points is it for 6th position? It's going to be about 10. So no, he won't. They'll be very close to Giuseppe Rainieri. So there we go. Quick maths from me.
Loving that. That needs to be a YouTube series in waiting, surely.
Yeah, no, so I think quick maths, James, is the trademark GPVWC maths calculation.
Tweeting from Big Yaya 42. I wonder what they were thinking of when they put that name together. Why is Fidek in P2? Dive bombed and hit his own teammate, then the slower one barged, aka Vettel, through the field. So someone clearly not. Oh, Ranieri's off! Oh, and he's hit like beer! Oh my goodness me! Is he good? How's the car? I can't see any. Has he got a front? Yes, he's got a front wing. Oh, my goodness me, Ranieri! That was a bizarre incident. Just completely lost it on the entry into the hairpin. But when he come back on again, he just clean plopped into poor old Kenny Lybeer. He seems to be.
Yeah.
He's got a target on the back of that car that everyone just seems to want to smack into. But he's still out in the lead, but only by 3.3 seconds from Fidek at the moment. From Heasterbeek, he's in the pits now from third, and we'll soon see how that one resolves against himself and Roland.
Yeah, I think Giuseppe Ranieri, when you remember back in Bahrain, where down into turn one he had a little bit of a knock with Fidek, which caused Fidek some damage as well. But Giuseppe Ranieri said his race was pretty much done there because he had some, I believe he would have had some quite substantial suspension damage. Noting that he's just had a big knock on the front right of his car, so he is probably going to have some pretty substantial suspension damage from now. So how much time is that going to cost him? Can David Fidek pull this one back and win 2 in a row?
I tell you what is really interesting on lap 48 of 56 is that Fidek has just taken out a 10th in the middle of the lap, but the fact that Ranieri is now visually in David Fidek's sight, and sometimes it's very difficult to register when you're closing someone in and they're just not actually within your visual line of sight, and then as soon as they are, you suddenly have something to home in on. You're like, and you can start visually gauging and going for it. And I think that's going to be really interesting as Hagen and Canapino side by side for 9th and 10th into turn 1, and Hagen round the outside for the Red Archer car, and yoinks back a position, and he's on the option tyres against Canapino in the prime, so that could very well be game Hagen for that.
Yeah, I think especially when you consider how nice that car is upgrade-wise, would be the Red Archer. That should be pretty sorry. Augustin Canapino says, haha, no, we will try and fight this one out. And Augustin Canapino moves himself back up into 9th position. The gap between the lead 3.1 seconds, especially after that was the sector where I think Giuseppe Ranieri was pulling out a lot of his gap early on in the race. So as they cross the first sector, it's still 3.1, 3.2 seconds. So it's not really changing so much at the moment.
Petr Kaza has been overtaken by Toby Davis for 14th and 15th positions as Canapino and Hagen at it again, and Canapino's back through, and that looks, judging by the sound of our cameraman extraordinaire, like a real humdinger.
Indeed. We'll just have to see how that one's going to play out. I think that might be something to go all the way until the end of the race, which is not very far away. We've got 7 laps to go. There's Giuseppe Ranieri and all that across the line, so plenty of laps for these lot to fight. Tommy Hagen straight past Augustin Canapino, bit of contact.
That is Canapino completely outbraking himself into the hairpin and just kind of driving poor Hagen off the road, because he'd actually gone round the outside of him on the entry into that hairpin, and the move was kind of done. It had Canapino not completely bunged it up on the entry, so sometimes doing something wrong can result in something going right for you.
Yeah, so we'll just have to see how that one's going to play out later on in the race. Obviously, plenty of time to go. Is Tommy Hagen going to have a look? Nope, not down into 10.6, but still, I'm sure he's just going to keep right on the back of Augustin Canapino. Is Tommy Hagen?
Rouse ahead of Casa. Interestingly, is Roland versus Heasterbeek. Heasterbeek round the outside, and he's gone off wide in the battle for third position. Roland stays there for the time being, but the fact that Heasterbeek is even attempting to go for it, option versus prime, this is going to be very intriguing indeed. The battle between the leading duo is stagnant at 3.3 seconds. So Fidek is just, or Ranieri is gapping Fidek, or they can only literally match their times together. But it looks like Heasterbeek is definitely going all Angry Birds against Roland, and that's a change of position between Canapino and Hagen again down into the hairpin for 9th and 10th. More contact between the two.
A little bit more
Tom,
there.
My goodness me. Oh, more.
Yeah. Now, is it going to be a bit more? Probably.
If you had to add pounds every time that you actually smacked someone, I swear half this field would have to sign up for Weight Watchers. It's crazy. As Canapino is going to have another mini half dig into turn, or part 2 of turn 1, whatever it is.
Yeah, obviously. Another, again, yeah, that was a very good shout. Another driver who's driving in the ITC on Monday is Augustin Canapino. So having a little bit of a quite literal bash at it. But yeah, no, we've got. I don't know. I don't like that kind of driving on this field. You know, we're supposed to be nice, clean. Driver. Oh, Calvin Hamzet's
who's
straight
off
the track. Oh, that's such a shame. But no, these guys are supposed to be clean. Where you want to make a move, you get really close to the driver, but there's no contact. It's just about getting as close as possible. And I don't know. It's just when contact comes out, that's not cool. That's not cool.
Calvin has rejoined, by the way, but now 5 laps down in 23rd position. Big hugs for Calvin.
Yeah,
still going,
such
good
a
man.
Shame. Yeah. But I see Augustin Canapino. He's got a little flag. Has Augustin Canapino. He's got a lot of a very high ping at the moment, sitting at about 200. So that car is lagging about all over the place. Oh wow, that was a moment. Yeah, he's hit the wall. Yeah, he's hit the wall. He went over the curb on the outside. I'm going to assume that car has some damage, but it's that curb. You've brought this up before, Smithy, about that curb on the outside of the final turn where you can beat your car on it, and once you do, it'll probably just it'll ping off in a random direction if you can't get it off. And I remember that's what happened to me in Formula Challenge. But okay, so apparently he might have missed the ball, which is going to be very, very lucky.
He did miss the ball.
Okay.
Just.
Okay, so lucky.
Just desserts for Augustin Canapino, perhaps, as he's about to be lapped by Giuseppe Ranieri. Still 10 on the lead lap, which I think is the highest that we've had so far this year, actually.
I can go check that out if you wish.
Go for it, Mr. Statalicious, as they sort themselves out. Still then, lap 52, and it's Ranieri leading by 4 seconds now from Viaduct. So whatever damage he's got, he's managing. Roland is in 3rd, and he's now got 2 seconds over Hayster Beak. So now that his tyres are up to temperature, Roland appears to be able to hold off Rude for now. Missilus is still in 5th position. Redshaw is in 6th. Lee Morris is in 7th. Van der Vault's in 8th, not too far behind actually. Tommy Hagen is now 9th, ahead of Canapino in 10th, who goes a lap down. Leiby is 11. Clont is in 12th position. Adam Rouse in 13th. Has got Toby Davis still about 1.5 seconds behind him in 14th. Then Petacazza is really struggling on this last stint on his prime tyres in 15th place. Sven de Vries is way back, sadly, though, in 16th, and that doesn't look like points for ST unless it's a last-minute drama. Then it's Kieran Ryan, 17, Roy Stroughton, 18, Harley Hamnitz, 19, with Boyd Bryson, 20th. 3 laps down is Tumala and Kovanen in the green stripes together, and then 5 down and lapped by everyone else that's running is Calvin Herms, but he is still going. And he's on for his first finish, so mini shouts to that.
Yeah, he's still going, which is always a good thing to actually reach the checker flag. I also did have a quick look. It was 9 people who finished on the lead lap in Australia. It was 11 in Malaysia, and it was 6 2 weeks ago in Bahrain. So it's 9 at the moment. However, will Giuseppe Ranieri catch up to the back of Tommy Hagen? I don't believe so.
4 laps left in which to do it, and make sure that he brings that car home in one piece. So a couple of little unresolved scraps left. The Lee Morris versus Tom van der Vault for 7th and 8th. There's just over a second between those two, and they've been close together nigh on most of the race. So we'll see how that one finishes out. Toby Davis is dropping away now from Adam Rouse after closing up to him, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. Canapino goes
Okay,
mowing
yeah.
him.
Oh yeah, he does. He does have a little drive on the grass. Sure, why not? You know, if you
If all else
practicing
fails.
clearly just practicing for all forms of driving. Now trying the maybe just rally cross practice. Also, apparently, why Toby Davis has dropped off the back of Adam Rouse is because he's had a spin.
Bad time for that car. Does look evil. The other battle that's still going on is Harley Hamnet versus Boyd Bryson. Or are they actually? Because I think they're a lap apart. Oh no, it's Boyd Bryson and Harley Hamnet, 19th and 20th. Bryson just keeps lagging out, which is why he's dropping behind. Shows behind on the timing stats, but he's ahead on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's always fun when you're dropping about all over the place. I think we had one of our leaders yesterday. I know back in Formula Challenge, the lead driver on the last lap disconnected from the race. So, like it's always a fun thing in sim racing when you lag over sector splits and everyone's like, "Oh, I've gained a position from some." Never
There's
mind.
always that little when you realise, actually, especially when you're towards the back like myself, because you
Lee
end up.
Norris and Tom Vanderbilt have switched positions.
Oh, they
7th and
have.
8th.
Lee Morris does indeed get it down
Yeah,
at the
just-
hairpin, and
just
that is
gonna have a look
Boyd
at Boyd.
Bryson. Having
Okay,
fun.
Boyd just got on the power a little bit too much out of the final turn and decided to go have a dinner with the wall.
Parking it now as well,
Yeah.
sadly, for the Phoenix F1 team. And, well, that is our 6th retirement. Not many retirements, actually, today.
Oh, Roy
And
Schroten
Morris
having
versus-
a little... Sorry, just a quick point about Roy Schroten and Nick Rowland there. It looked like Roy was trying to overtake Nick Rowland, which is a very odd thing to do. Especially considering they're a lap apart. Just thought I'd bring that one up.
Definitely. Tom Vandervilt's trying to get back past Lee Morris. The pair of them going side by side for the 4th corner in a
Oh.
row. More contact between the two. Stop this bashing
These
around.
aren't touring cars, goodness sake.
We're disgusted. As look at Tom going round the outside in a double left. That would be amazing if he's able to pull that one off. And, well, I'm sure he's well versed at pulling things off, but
Wow.
I don't think it's going to be round that double left. And,
Oh.
Morris well out wide there. He'll
As
be able
much
to pick
as-
up the slipstream on the way back.
You know, as much as that was a very pretty scene and we'll go side by side, do they have to knock each other? Jesus Christ. Yeah, okay, that was a Van View driving in ITC. I didn't know that actually. But fair enough.
And this
I'm
ITC will
assuming-
be broadcasted on Monday, so if you quite
Yes.
enjoy seeing cars bashing
Cars
up against
bashing
each other,
Off you go.
it's pixel porn for the best of
Are
us.
you going to be doing commentary on that one, Smithy?
That is my little mini home, so I'm
Yeah.
sure I will be there on the Monday nights, and it will be a much lower tone at what we've been able. This is semi-professional.
Semi-professional.
We're we're back
That's
down
where-
to gutter level for Monday
Yeah,
nights.
that's the good
where
one.
we belong.
You won't have Redshaw for that one, because obviously he's driving in CSG.
Nope.
Aw.
Yes. That's okay. It'll be myself and Dave Smith doing cameraman extraordinaire for me on
Yeah.
that one. As Sven de Vries versus Kieran Ryan for 16th and 17th positions is back on again. And last time Kieran Ryan got to the back of Sven de Vries, he went and threw it off down at turn 1. Now is he going to have a go down at the end of sector 1? He is indeed. And Sven, oh dear. All the tyres with none of the grip. Sven de Vries
Indeed.
goes very, very, very wide as Giuseppe Ranieri is on his last lap as he's coming around to about Covenant for the 4th time.
Yeah, it's been a fairly long race for some of these lot, and not too much action for Giuseppe Ranieri after that pit stop, and he'd gapped David Fidek, who's working his way through some traffic, but he's currently got a 5.2 second lead, and that's not going to change down a straight. It's been a good drive so far. Just 2 more corners to go, and then we'll have our 4th different winner of 2014 in the Superleague.
Well, this high-speed, actioned, pass-the-parcel game that is Give Me the Winning Trophy looks like it's going to its 4th person in a row. And Giuseppe Ranieri for Midnight Motorsport is about to break the double podium record for CSG, and he wins the Chinese Grand Prix for GPVWC Super League 2014. Beautifully done by Giuseppe. 5 seconds from David Fidek, who comes home second position and takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship in doing so. Third place then, looking like for Nick Rowland, and that will help some of his naysayers that are out there that are worried about his general speed and ability to be in a top running team, and him on the podium I think will go some way to negating that. Good to see Nick grabbing his third position. And a 1-3 for Midnight Motorsports. Great stuff. Brood Heasterbeek gets fourth position at the last minute, just holding off Davidus Misalis. My goodness me, that was very, very close, but he's done it. Then Redshaw will grab 6th position for CSG and lose his championship lead as a result. Tom Vandervoort is going to come home in 7th position, just ahead of Lee Morris by about a second. Nijo versus Kerno. Got to get round the final hairpin. Then it will be Tommy Hagan, the last unlapped runner, in 9th position. Augustin Canapino is 1 lap down in 10th. Kenny Lybeer is 11th for Vodball. Menno Klont 12th for Kerno. Adam Rouse 13th for Torrent Motorsports. Fantastic achievement. Toby Davis 14th for Nordzone. Petter Casa grabs the final point in 15th for Torrent Motorsports. They'll have some thinking to do. 2 laps down, 16th place for Kieran Ryan, ahead of Sven de Vries 17th. Roy Schroten 18th for Woods Racing. 3 laps down, Harley Hamnet is... he's 2 laps down in the Hawkeye. 4 laps down is Mikhail Tumala for Green Stripes, ahead of Tommy Kovanen in 21st position. 4 laps down in the Green Stripes. Boyd Bryson is classified 22nd despite crashing out, while Calvin Hermsey does get his finish 5 laps down in the ST Racing car. Your retirements: Grogo Baldi, Morten Vernonson, Danny Asbury with that classic error, Mindergaus Columbus, and Jordan Weeks, who failed to get round turn 1.
Yeah, that was a fairly long race for some of the drivers. I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen after this with Cipriani obviously taking a win, the fourth different winner of the season. I wonder if that trend will continue on. I kind of get the feeling that it won't. I think we'll see a repeat winner in 2 weeks' time when we head back into the European season, depending on, of course, what upgrades other teams are bringing and what's going to happen. But yeah, that's Giuseppe Ranieri taking a win and David Fidek taking the lead of the championship.
Well, I've got my suspicious source out and about, and I think potion for the rest of the season is going to be one of interest. Just whilst we're waiting for everyone who is coming into the broadcast booth to get here, let's just do a quick plug for Monday. It is the ITC, International Touring Cars, the second season that we've had here at GPVWC, where we've taken over from the old Gentlemen's Racing Club Touring Car Championship. Plenty of cars, plenty of action, plenty of crashing, I'd imagine, and probably plenty of foul-mouthed commentary from myself. And we'll look forward to seeing you there, Monday, 8 o'clock GMT. Or BST, I don't know. One of those.
BST, all of those. GMT, whatever. We'll find out when we get there.
All of the above. If you click play and it's on, go for it. That'll do. It looks like we've been joined not by our winner, but we've got our second and third place Chumaliciousness on board with us. And we'll start with David Fidek first, who is now the championship leader. But talk us about that race and how it was for you.
Didn't pay attention to it, didn't like it, don't want to do it again. Simple as that. Messed up the start, knocked out Lewis, so don't care.
Bah. But you still carried the flag for CSG and grabbed a podium.
Yeah, sorry. I got dragged in the commentary booth, don't want to be here, sorry, but yeah. I messed up today, don't want to talk about it, so.
Okay.
It was an alright race, but as soon as I tagged Lewis, I lost interest, didn't even push. Yeah.
We'll let you get on with that then. Although I wouldn't say you didn't push while your team boss can hear. I think that's bad move. Let's move on to happier things. Then with Nick Rowland, who makes it onto the podium. Nicky boy, well done.
Yeah, finally. First one of the season as well. I'm happy to be back on it.
Will that involve a beer in a minute?
Maybe more.
Yay, good man. So talk us through that race, because you didn't look like you was on for that podium at the very beginning, and yet you kind of sneakily made your way through and pulled off some good little manoeuvres while you was at it.
Yeah. Start was a bit shaky, to be honest. I got the initial bite on the clutch, okay, and then the second part it just started wheel spinning, and it hadn't done that before with the bite point I've got. So I need to look at that. But off the line, I lost 2 positions. Then I locked up as well in the middle sector, and I lost a few more positions, and basically had to fight my way back. Some good passes. I think I had one moment with Kenny Library, I think it might have been, where he gone wide in turn 1, and I'd gone on the inside, and he came back down, but it seemed to bump him up in the air. But I didn't feel like I actually done anything wrong, because I still took a racing line, and he was wider coming back down. So I'm not too sure what the stewards will think on that one. But other than that, it was brilliant, and a great race with Rude as well.
Yeah, do you think that this podium will be something that's a repeatable thing when we head back into the European season? Is Catalonia a track that you think you could repeat this performance on?
I'd like to think so, but to be honest with you, I'm pleased with my result, but I'm also disappointed with how far I'm off Giuseppe. I'm still struggling a little bit with the car. I'm really struggling with traction mostly. I'm just not quite got it dialed in where I want it. So I'd like to think it could be, but it's going to take a lot more testing, a lot more understanding, because I'm not quite there with it yet.
Yeah, well, obviously for a last-minute replacement, it's been a good one, and I'd like to see you doing quite well as in future events. Probably putting yourself up into the podium.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Well, great to see that we're ending on happy notes.
Yeah,
which is good. Big cuddles for all, and congratulations to Nick Rowland, who's gone a fair chunk of the way to get rid of any naysayers for that one. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed.
And where are we off to next?
Catalonia. We're going to Spain,
User left your
back
channel.
into the European season, as we said. And obviously between then, we've got, as you said, the ITC back in Bahrain, where we were 2 weeks ago. They're at the shorter layout. That's on Monday. 2 days after that, on the Wednesday, we've got the World Sports Series, the Porsches. They're back. They are at Catalonia. So if you want to see what that track is like with some cars in it, then you can go and see there. Hopefully my drive will be doing well. And then obviously the week after that, on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, you've got Formula Challenge and Super Cup, and that's where we'll be there. And then Super League on the Thursday. So quite a lot happening in GPVWC within the 2 week break that we have, and obviously everything keeping active.
Wow. That kind of says it all. So put all those dates into your calendar. I demand and implore you to do so. Thank you very much to Simon Mellowish to enjoy his rest of his birthday in peace.
Yeah.
For us. Thank you as always for being my sparring partner, Mr. McGlade. Pleasure to have you with us. And from me, myself, Simon Smith, it is good night and goodbye. See you soon.